So till now we have seen the standing wave ratio, transmission coefficient, reflection coefficient, and the transmission line equations. Along with that, problems. There are two problems which we have not solved in the last class based on standing wave ratio. So we'll solve it today and we'll move to the new topic. So I just want you to write down the question before we start. It is the problems based on standing wave ratio. You can note down the problem. A transmission line has a characteristic impedance of 50 plus J 0.01 ohm and is terminated by a load impedance of 73 minus J 42.5 ohm. Calculate a reflection coefficient. First one, calculate the reflection coefficient. Second, standing wave ratio. Calculate the reflection coefficient, standing wave ratio. Repeat the question once again. A transmission line has a characteristic impedance of 50 plus J 0.01 ohm and is terminated in a load impedance of 73 minus J 42.5 ohm. Calculate the reflection coefficient, and the second is standing wave ratio. What will be the formula for reflection coefficient in terms of impedance? What will be the reflection coefficient formula?
ZL minus Z0 plus ZL plus Z0.
Use the formula that is ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0. Substitute the values. 73 minus J 42.5 minus, there is a negative sign, don't make mistake here, 50 minus, it will be J 0.01. Divide the whole term by 73 minus J 42.5 plus 50 plus J 0.01. So write down in A plus JB form, convert it into angle form, divide it. What is the answer? This will be 23 minus J
42.5.
42.51 divided by
123 minus 42.49 J.
123 minus J 42.49. Convert it into angle form. Write the last answer in angle form, polar form.
48.33 at an angle minus 61.58.
48.33
48.33
at an angle
minus 61.58.
61.58 divided by
130.13
130.13
at an angle minus 19.05.
19.05 degree. Now divide this.
Zero point 371 angle minus 42.52.
0.337 angle minus 42.7. Getting everybody?
42.527 I'm getting.
42.527. Okay, we can take both. 42.5. Others, you are getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, how to find out the standing wave ratio? What is the formula in terms of you have got reflection coefficient? That is rho. What is the formula? We have solved, yes, last class. Reflection coefficient formula in terms of reflection coefficient. Sorry, standing wave ratio formula in terms of reflection coefficient.
1 plus reflection coefficient by 1 minus
Yeah,
reflection.
1 plus magnitude of reflection coefficient divided by 1 minus magnitude of reflection coefficient. When I say magnitude, you have to consider only the magnitude part, not the angle part. So the whole equation when you write, it will be 1 plus 0.377 divided by 1 minus 0.377. Calculate this. How much it is? Rho is equal to 1 plus 0.2, 2.21
2.18.
2.21 or 2.18?
2.21.
18.
If you get 2.21, just check. There will be some problem with the decimals. So understood the problem. If you are asked for standing wave ratio given Z0 and ZL, first you find out the formula of reflection coefficient, write it in the angle form. And when you solve this standing wave ratio, make sure you take the reflection coefficient magnitude, that is 0.377 in this case. Then substitute, find out what is standing wave ratio. It will be always greater than 1. Okay. So I'll clear the screen. Find the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Write down the next question. A transmission line working at radio frequency has following constant L is equal to 9 microhenry per meter. Next, capacitance is equal to 16 picofarad per meter. The line is terminated. The line is terminated in a resistive load of 1000 ohm. In a resistive load of 1000 ohm. Find the reflection coefficient. Find the reflection coefficient and standing wave ratio. Find the reflection coefficient and the standing wave ratio Now, how do you solve this? You have to find out reflection coefficient. You know the reflection coefficient formula is ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0. But in this case, only the resistive load, that is ZL, is given, whereas Z0 is not given. How do you find out Z0? Any formulas which you can relate Z0 based on L and C?
Root L by C.
Yeah, you have been given the constant L and C, so you can write it as root L by C, the formula which you have derived for characteristic impedance. So use this formula, that is Z0 is equal to L by C, substitute, find out the answer, then substitute to reflection coefficient equation. Based on this, you can find out what is SWR, that is 1 plus magnitude of transmission coefficient, 1 minus magnitude of transmission coefficient. Substitute and do it fast. So this will be 9 into 10 to the power minus 6 divided by 16 into 10 to the power minus 12.
$750 ohms.
Yeah, 750 ohms. That's right. So this will be 750 ohms. Characteristic impedance, you will get 750 ohms. Now find out what is reflection coefficient. ZL, what you get is 1000. Z0 is 750. Divide by 1000 plus 750.
0.1428 now.
Yeah, correct. It will be 0.1428. Now there is no angle already, so you can just substitute for SWR 1 plus 0.1428 divided by 1 minus 0.1428. That will be a standing wave ratio. This answer
1.333.
1.333. So if only L and C are given, you can use the formula of Z0, substitute the values, find out the reflection coefficient, then find what is the standing wave ratio. Any confusion in solving? I'll clear the screen. Now next, we'll go to one more topic, which is very important considering your exam point of view. Now this concept was called as Smith chart. You will be given a graph sheet, kind of a chart, where you have to plot the reflection coefficient, whatever the parameters you have found till now. That is, maybe it is with respect to your characteristic impedance, maybe with respect to your line impedance, maybe with respect to admittance or reflection coefficient, transmission coefficient, standing wave ratio, that is voltage standing wave ratio. Everything will be plotted in the graph, and in the chart you are going to find out the values, because while you calculate it, see, you have like you have to use your calc. For complex numbers, it will be difficult or tedious method to go for such calculations. So a scientist called Smith, he has identified a chart, which is a Smith chart. so that you can solve the complicated transmission line problems. The name of the scientist is Philip H. Smith. So he has devised a simple graphical tool, so which will be mainly used to present the graphic solution of transmission lines problems. So you can use the Smith chart and you can find out, it is a clever way of visualizing the complex functions so that you can find out all the parameters which comes in the transmission line. Now here the normalized impedance and admittance reflection coefficient is plotted mainly to find the magnitude in the radial direction and phase in the angular direction. Now when I say normalized impedance, always you have to remember is on the Smith chart, you're going to plot the normalized impedance and normalized admittance. I'll tell you what is actually a normalized impedance and normalized admittance. For time being, you just understand the basic concept of what is actually a Smith chart. Now here, from mathematical point of view, the Smith chart is simply, it is representation of complex impedance with respect to coordinates. The domain of definition of the reflection coefficient is circle of radius 1. Now there will be a circle of radius 1, which you will be seeing in the Smith chart. Now mainly for impedance, voltage, current, etc., everything will repeat here in half wavelength, that is lambda by 2. The magnitude of reflection coefficient, the standing wave ratios will not change. Now if the load impedance is normalized, before going into this, I'll show you how actually the Smith chart is. So this is the Smith chart which will be given to you either in your internals or in your exams. So there will be a chart provided. This chart, on this chart, you're going to mark it. Now, I know it will be difficult for you to analyze this in the PPT. I have a thought of making it to do in the PowerPoint and make you to do it from tomorrow's class. So we'll see how much you can grasp. Based on that, we will solve the problems. Now here you have a center line which is shown in the red color. So that line is called as real impedance line. Whereas you can see that green color which is there, it is imaginary impedance line. To be more clear, see, comparing these circles, you can see there a circle is formed from this point. There is a continuous circle going like this. So these circles are called as constant resistance circle. Only the resistance are there. How do you calculate the resistance here is, see, from here it is written 2 on the circle. Similarly, there it is written 1. Similarly, 0.5, 0.4, 0. So what are all the values which is showing for that particular circle? That is a resistance value. Suppose I've told you it is unit resistance circle. This will be the 1. On this only we'll be plotting everything. R is equal to 1. So if you see here, see all the circles, what you can see, those circles which are starting from this corner till this corner, all are resistance values. There are some values which are given here, but it is very small. So those are all the resistance values. Coming to one more, it is reactance. So if you see this, you can see there is one more circle which is overlapping your normal circle. It is like an arc which is overlapping all the circles here. This side, there are some arcs like this, and this side, that is the down part also, you have some of the arcs like this. So those are called as reactance X circles, where in the chart, from the center, that is you have a center line here, from the center to the above part, it is positive reactance. So all the values will be plus Jx, positive reactance. Whereas below the line, you will have negative reactance. Remember, whatever the values you plot from the center line to the above are positive reactance. Similarly, from the center line to the below, whatever you plot, those are called as negative reactance. Any confusion you have not understood now, till now? Please let me know. First, you understand what is a circle actually. So this Smith chart of circle, you have impedance axis, you have real impedance axis, you have imaginary impedance axis. Now here you have constant circles. The values will be on the straight line which is given. It will not be given like R is equal to 2, R is equal to 1. On the chart, it will be written like this, 0.5, 1, 2 near those circles. So you have to understand those are the resistance values. Similarly, reactance values. Suppose I have to write the reactance value here. So this reactance value, if I'm writing for above, this will be, suppose I'm writing for this particular reactance, 1 is joining for 1 only. So it will be 1 plus 1x. If I come down for first circle, what I'm writing for resistance R, 1, the reactance what you are having here is 1. So it will be 1 minus 1. So that's how you write the reactance as well as resistance. Suppose, say this value of this particular resistor is say 0.2 or 0.3. So this will be 0.3. The reactance what it is pointing here is 2. So 0.3 plus 0.2J. Similarly, this one will be 0.2 minus 0.2J. So whatever the values are coming below that 1 means center, all are negative values of reactance. Similarly, above it will be positive value of reactance. Now this is something of how you actually see the Smith chart. The Smith chart center line, if you are going clockwise, it is towards generator. That is, you have seen the transmission line circuit. You had left hand side as generator end, right hand side as the load end. So here, if you take the values from the clock side of your Smith chart towards the clockwise direction, it is towards generator end. Similarly, if you take the readings in the anti-clockwise direction, that will be towards the load end. Understood? You understanding? I need the response so that I will also feel that you
Yes,
understand.
ma'am.
Okay. So from the center, if you go, it is clockwise, it is towards generator. From the center, if you go anti-clockwise, it is towards load end. Till now, the timing, this much is enough. Now, this is also not required. Okay. Now, I have to tell you certain characteristics of Smith chart. Before going into characteristic, there is a derivation which you have to derive for the Smith chart values, which you can plot on the Smith chart. So before that, you can just write down how you actually normalize the impedance which is given in the Smith chart. So before going into normalization, you have to find out that circle which is called as unity circle. For a unity circle, you will have to derive an equation. Starting with that, you know what actually, I have to tell you what actually is normalization. When I say normalization, suppose you, till now you were finding out it as ZL as well as Z0, which was written in the capital letter. Whereas when you plot it in the Smith chart, we mention it is small ZL and small Z0, which will actually give you the normalized impedance, either it is line impedance or it is characteristic impedance. So whenever you plot it on the Smith chart, you mention it in a small letter so that you'll get to know it is the normalization value. Now, how to normalize is, suppose you are normalizing the ZL. How do you normalize this? You take the value of ZL, what is given, divide it by Z0. Usually normalization is what? It is dividing it. Suppose if you consider in the electric and magnetic field, it is the value of the electric field is divided by its maximum value. So here normalization is, you are taking the exact value of ZL, what is given, that value will be dividing it by Z0. So whatever the value you get, that is the normalized line impedance. So why you are normalizing it? Because all the values on the Smith chart is the normalized value what you plot. So you are going to first and the foremost step in the Smith chart is doing this. whatever the value is given, if it is not given in the normalized way, you have to normalize it. First normalizing this value, then plotting it on the Smith chart. Now you have to find out an equation for this. For example, you know ZL is nothing but for 1 plus, that is gamma L, divided by 1 minus gamma L. For which value I'm taking is, just a second. First normalizing, for example, I'll consider for Z. That is Z by Z0 will be the normalization value. But you know that the value which we have derived initially for transmission coefficient with respect to alpha and beta, it was 2 to the power e to the power minus 2 alpha d divided by 1 minus gamma L e to the power gamma.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me. I can hear you.
Broken.
What?
Your voice was breaking, ma'am. Couldn't hear you. Can you
Okay.
explain from the
I'll
beginning?
explain you once again, just a minute. Is it audible now? Is it audible now? Hello? Hello? I need the response. Am I audible?
You weren't.
Hello? Is it a problem from my side or from your end?
Your side, I guess, ma'am, because everybody
Is facing a problem?
Yeah.
Is
I
it
guess.
still the same?
Now we can hear you, but
Hmm? Okay. Let me know if you're not, it is not clear. Okay. Moving on to the equations. First, we know that what is actually the equation of reflection coefficient. That is,
sorry, ma'am, we didn't hear you. What you said, nothing we heard.
still you have the voice is not audible or what is happening?
Ma'am, the explanation part is not audible, ma'am. The other things, what you're asking, I can hear, but the main
Okay.
explanation part, I couldn't.
Can you hear now?
Yes, ma'am. Now I can hear.
Okay. So first write down what is the reflection coefficient equation, that is gamma L, which is in terms of line impedance, that is ZL plus minus Z0, ZL plus Z0. You have already written this equation in terms of magnitude and phasor form. Magnitude of gamma L e to the power j theta L, which I will be writing this equation in terms of real and imaginary axis. That is, for real, I'll mention it as R, gamma R. For imaginary, I'll mention it as gamma I. I hope this is clear. This term I'm writing in terms of real as well as imaginary. So I have gamma R plus j gamma I, which I'll make this as equation 1. Similarly, we know that the reflection coefficient
What's the
value.
heading, ma'am?
Sorry?
Heading, ma'am. What are
You
the
write it as
headings?
in the Smith chart itself. Continue with the Smith chart.
Okay.
This derivation you have to understand, because as far as now the derivation is not asked. This is to make you understand what actually or how actually the Smith chart plots are there. So you have to understand this. Then you have to use the Smith chart for drawing all the parameters. So understand this, then you can easily you'll get to know what actually the points are there on the Smith chart. So we know that the reflection coefficient value will always be lesser than 1. Whatever the values you have got in the problems also, you can check. All the values will be lesser than 1. So if it is less than 1 means, what does that mean? In a circle, unity circle, all the values of a reflection coefficient should be inside the circle, not outside the circle. It should be on or within the unity circle, the values of all the reflection coefficients. Because on the Smith chart, we take based on R is equal to one circle, that is unity circle. So since the reflection coefficient value is less than or equal to 1, all the reflection coefficient values should come within your unity circle. Now, based on this, we have considered one more equation where Z is L minus D. Somewhere along the point location, that is D, your reflection coefficient is there. The one which you have derived for this was gamma D is equal to gamma L e to the power minus 2 alpha D e to the power minus j 2 beta D, which is also equal to gamma L, which is magnitude. In terms of angle form, I am writing all this you have written already. Minus 2 alpha D e to the power j theta L minus 2 beta D. So this was the equation for a line which is L minus D, which is also again, this value also will be within the unity circle. Now what you have to do is you have to normalize the impedance what you take. That is normalization of impedance. I've taken it as Z. So normalization is Z, nothing but Z by Z naught. So here, when you consider Z by Z naught, we have the value which is written here, that is 1 plus gamma L e to the power minus 2 gamma D. This also you have written already. One more is 1 minus gamma L e to the power 2 gamma D. So this equation with no loss. No loss means your D value will be 0. Your Z will be equal to L. So if I substitute it here, which is equal to 1 plus gamma L divided by 1 minus gamma L. That is, if you see here, substitute 0 here, e to the power 0 will be 1. Again, e to the power 0 will be 1. 1 plus gamma L, 1 minus gamma L, which is nothing but your normalization ZL by Z naught. Or if you write it in terms of real and imaginary part, Z is nothing but R plus XL, resistance plus reactance. So RL plus JXL divided by Z naught, which I will be writing it as small r plus jx. This whole term, how I have written your reflection coefficient. Similarly, I'll be writing your r and jx. Now, when you compare this, what will be your r with this equation? What is actually r? ZL by Z naught is written as RL plus JXL because the form of Z is R plus JX impedance. Similarly, I've written RL plus JXL divided by Z naught. This whole equation, I have written it as R plus JX. What is R from this equation? What is R from this equation?
RL by Z naught.
RL by Z naught. So that will be your real normalized resistance value. Similarly, your small letter x will be nothing but XL divided by Z naught, which is the normalized reactance. So this is what you plot in the Smith chart. So you will be dividing the resistance part by characteristic impedance, reactance part by characteristic impedance. Then you're plotting it on the Smith chart. So that is one more equation of resistance and reactance. Till now, there is any problem? If we are fine, we can continue. I hope there is nothing. You can, I'll clear the screen. Now you have this reflection coefficient equation, what we have written, that is gamma L is equal to real part of your gamma R, imaginary part of gamma I, that is gamma R plus J gamma I. So what you'll be doing to this equation is, you need to substitute the equation, that is, you know, R plus JX R plus Jx is the real resistance and the reactance value. Now this equation, you are substituting the above equation to the previous equation. Suppose if you consider this as your equation 1 and one more equation what you have previously, that is Z is equal to R plus Jx, or it is 1 plus gamma L divided by 1 minus gamma L. You need to substitute the value of gamma L, which is in equation 1, to this. So if that is the case, it will be 1 plus gamma R plus J gamma I divided by 1 minus gamma R minus J gamma I. How can you? While deriving this R plus Jx form, there is one small mistake which we have done. That is 1 plus gamma L is the equation we had taken. For gamma L, we have substituted it as gamma R plus J gamma I. Similarly to the denominator, it is 1 minus gamma R plus J gamma I, which we split and write it as 1 plus gamma R plus J gamma I divided by, it will be 1 minus gamma R minus J gamma I. So this is the term which we have got. But the thing here is, when we apply this rationalization method to the denominator, that is, when you do rationalization in mathematics, we actually do it as A plus JB divided by A minus JB. So rationalization is something we are doing A plus JB divided by A plus JB. Here, changing the term of the imaginary. But what we have done in the earlier class was, we have changed the sign here, which is wrong. We cannot change the real part term for rationalization. So we have to change the J term. So if we are changing the J term, the rationalization for this particular equation, it will be 1 plus gamma R plus J gamma I divided by 1 minus gamma R minus J gamma I into, rationalization will be 1 minus gamma R plus J gamma I divided by 1 minus gamma R plus J gamma I. So this is how we write the equation which we have done wrong in the initial step itself. So here this I can take it as A, this also A. So this will be B and this will be B. So you can apply, it is in the form of A minus B into A plus B. So which is nothing but A square minus B square form. Similarly, in the above term also, I can apply the same form, because it is, if you consider 1 plus J gamma I plus gamma R into, the other term is 1 plus J gamma I minus gamma R, divide the whole term by A square minus B square, that is 1 minus gamma R is A square minus B square will be J gamma I whole square. Okay, so this term, or I'll write it in the new screen. The numerator term which is there, this term I can write it as, so it is also in the form of 1 plus J gamma I, which is nothing but, this I can consider here as the A term and this is the B term. Similarly, this is A term and this is B term. So again, A plus B, A minus B. the equation will be R plus Jx is equal to 1 plus J gamma I. This will be square minus gamma R square divided by the denominator, that is 1 minus gamma R whole square minus J square will be, sorry, J square is minus 1, this will be plus 1 gamma I square. So this is the equation we get when you substitute the equation in terms of A plus B and A minus B after doing the rationalization. Now the above term, if you see, it is in the form of A plus B whole square. So you can apply the formula of A plus B whole square to the numerator and then split the equation in terms of real and imaginary so that you can get the real part and the imaginary part. Because of the rationalization problem, we were getting one extra term there with respect to the denominator. So this we know it is A square 1 square, B square is J gamma I whole square 2AB, that is 2 times of J gamma I minus gamma R square divided by the term excuse me, 1 minus gamma R square, sorry, 1 minus gamma R whole square plus gamma I square. Now in the numerator, if I just split the terms with respect to imaginary, so that J square will become as minus 1. So you'll be left out with one imaginary term, which I'll be splitting with respect to the numerator as well as the denominator. So this equation will be 1 minus gamma I square, write the real terms together, gamma R square divided by 1 plus gamma R whole square plus gamma I square. This is again plus the imaginary term what we have, that is J 2 times of gamma I divided by 1, sorry, this is 1 minus gamma R whole square plus gamma I square. So you can see now, previously like we had in the denominator one imaginary term that is eliminated. So if you equate the real term and imaginary term here, you will have R, that is R plus JX. R will take the real term, imaginary will take this term. So R will be equal to 1 minus gamma I square minus gamma R square divided by 1 minus gamma R whole square plus gamma I square. So this is the real part, whereas for imaginary part x is equal to 2 times of gamma I divided by 1 minus gamma R whole square plus gamma I square. So which gives you imaginary part. So this is how you get the resistance as well as reactance value. So based on this, next we will be doing how to draw the constant resistance circles as well as constant reactance circles.